This is KGW News at 11.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to KGW News at 11 on this Tuesday night. I'm Laurel Porter. We're here to bring you the facts on the coronavirus pandemic as we all navigate this strange new world together. Though the number of cases in Oregon is rising, we want to start with some perspective. Take a look at this chart. This represents the number of COVID-19 tests that have been done in Oregon to this date. 690 people have tested positive for the virus. But it's important to keep in mind that's just 5% of the total number of people tested. 95% of the tests have come back negative. More tests are available now in Oregon, but they're still limited. People who are sick enough to be in the hospital are getting priority, followed by healthcare workers. And today we learned 31 of those workers have tested positive for the virus. As our Maggie Vespa explains, many on the front lines are worried a lack of protective equipment is putting them at risk.
After weeks of frontline healthcare workers sounding the alarm about orders to conserve and reuse personal protective equipment, fearing it would make them more susceptible to contracting COVID-19, we've learned dozens of those workers have indeed tested positive for the virus. Specifically, 12 of them work at OHSU. 10 are from Providence Health and Services, 8 from Legacy Health, and 1 works in Lynn County. That's 31 total. Yesterday, a respiratory therapist from OHSU predicted this.
While my colleagues and I have been lucky so far, we have no doubt that one of us is going to fall ill very soon.
Today, union leaders with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees held a national media call featuring a rep from Portland.
They're not safe, right? Taking these shortcuts around personal protective equipment doesn't work. And in the long run, it puts more workers and patients at risk.
Stacey Chamberlain also blasted local hospitals for, she believes, rationing PPE more than they need to in an effort to stockpile for a spike in coronavirus patients. Over the past several weeks, KGW has asked metro area hospitals multiple times how much PPE they have and how much they need. Answers tend to lack hard numbers. This one in from Kaiser Permanente today. Quote, Kaiser Permanente has the PPE we need right now to care for patients and protect staff. PPE on hand is being carefully monitored. Plastic face shields and goggles may be sanitized and reused. Today, a spokesperson for the Oregon Association of Hospitals and Health Systems also weighed in, telling us to conserve supplies in preparation for a massive surge in patients. Hospitals are following guidelines set out by the Centers for Disease Control and the Oregon Health Authority. We are now reporting on our PPE stocks to OHA and are working with the state and our established vendors to secure more PPE in the coming days and weeks. He added, hospitals are dedicated to keeping our essential healthcare workers safe. Both Providence and Kaiser say they are screening employees for symptoms when they show up for work. A rep for Kaiser wouldn't tell us how many healthcare workers in their system have tested positive, but he noted those who do could have contracted the virus off the job. Maggie Vespa, KGW News.
Those healthcare workers are on a lot of people's minds. Check this out. Viewer Melissa sent us this photo of a man holding a sign outside Salem Health. It says, to all the doctors, nurses, and staff, thank you for saving my beautiful mother. And hopefully some of those staff also heard this tribute tonight. At 7 o'clock, Southwest Portlanders were out on their balconies and at their windows, and you heard them banging pots and pans, yelling, all in an effort to show support for those working on the front lines in this pandemic. Portland's mayor called for the tribute to happen each night at 7 o'clock, and it seems like more and more people are joining in each day. Let's hear you tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And one more piece of good news for another group on the front lines of this pandemic. Fred Meyer is giving its hourly employees a bonus. All frontline grocery, supply chain, manufacturing, pharmacy, and call center associates will get a $2 an hour raise from now through April 18th. They're calling it a hero bonus, and they certainly deserve it. We're also keeping an eye on the economic fallout of this pandemic. Workers who are out of a job are having a difficult time filing for unemployment in Oregon. KGW spoke with several people today who said they can't get through to anyone when they call, and others are having trouble submitting claims online. It seems to be a different story, though, for people applying for small business loans under the $2 trillion federal relief package. Larry Mock is a residential construction remodeler. He says he applied for a loan through the Small Business Administration yesterday.
And when I got on there, it was pretty simple. So I just started answering the questions. And before I knew it, I think I spent 15 minutes on the application and submitted it. That's the first actual government form that I've been able to fill out on my own.
And good news for small businesses. The loans could be forgiven if the money is used for designated operating expenses and to keep people employed. Back to unemployment. The state says it's trying to keep up with demand. It added more people to take phone calls. And if you check the Oregon Employment Department's website, there's now a whole section devoted to COVID-19 related layoffs and closures. Let's switch gears to another big story in the Pacific Northwest tonight. Idaho is hit with a 6.5 magnitude earthquake. That's a big one. You saw the video there showing lights, decorations shaking. This is in the Boise area. And this was far from the epicenter. We'll bring in Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino from his home studio tonight with more on this. Matt, first, do we know if there was any damage?
No major damage, Laura. What you saw, the shaking there, is about the worst of it from what I understand now, which is pretty amazing. A 6.5 magnitude earthquake is very, very strong. Let me show you the map right now, and I'll show you exactly where this was. Up in the heart of the Sawtooth Mountains, very close to Stanley, Idaho, is where the epicenter was, and there were several aftershocks as well, ranging as high as 4.8, 3.4, 3.6. This was felt in 6 different states, including Oregon. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here on the actual epicenter, and you'll see it. It's right close to Stanley, Idaho, and it was a 6.5 at 5:52 this afternoon, and then the aftershocks continued for about another hour and a half after that. Now, this next map is produced by the USGS, basically produced by reports they get from people, from citizens. And everywhere you see one of those squares indicates that shaking was felt. It's called the Did You Feel It map. They had over 15,000 people check in when they produced this map earlier this evening. The star in the middle is where the epicenter was, near Stanley, Idaho. And you can see several reports from Oregon. As far away as Seneca, Oregon, which is north of Burns. It was felt in the Baker City area. Had some Facebook comments about that, saying it felt like a 2.0. And then out around Pendleton as well. So again, really interesting earthquake. Luckily, no major damage. 6.5 is quite strong. The other thing happening in the Northwest today, of course, was our wild weather. I've got a video for you of a land spout that you see there now. We'll show you that and let you know it's up for tomorrow, April 1st. Of course, we're talking April showers. Laurel, back to you.
Of course. We'll see in a few minutes. Thank you, Matt. In Portland, West Burnside is closing overnight after this. A chunk of the hillside came down on the road near 24th Place this morning. One westbound lane will be closed into tomorrow morning at the least. Crews will assess if the ground is still moving, then begin removing debris.